Hi, we're in Florence, Kentucky, covering the hands-off protests here. This is what the community members had to say. Hi. I'm here from Cleveland. I'm covering hands-off protests. Cleveland, Ohio. Out here at the hands-off protest in
Florence, Kentucky.
Okay. Teach the world something about Florence.
Florence is part of the giant red spot that is Kentucky. There's a couple blue spots, Louisville, Lexington, Covington, sort of, but no, there's not. There's not much. I mean, we're here.
We are here.
We are here.
We are here.
Not many, but we are here.
Okay. Tell me about the impact of these protests.
I have not seen any effect. I think the biggest effect that I've seen is people realizing that they are not alone. It's like, does nobody else think that this is bad? But yeah, there are other people who think this is bad. So it's really good to be encouraged and see other people who agree with you about, if not everything, at least a lot of things.
Yeah.
Or the most important thing.
Yeah. So Kamala Harris talked a lot about Project 2025, which is happening now. I want to ask your perspective on why did America get it wrong?
Because white people are stupid.
Give me a personal message for Elon Musk and Donald Trump from your mouth to their ears.
Go to therapy. I think having too much money breaks your brain. Go to therapy.
Tell me what you think the impact of these protests has been or has the potential to be, because it's now international.
Okay. I think that if we're going to make changes, we've got to protest, but we've got to do it often. It can't be a one-time thing or even a two-time thing. It's got to be ongoing to really make a difference. So that's why I'm here. I got to do my part.
Yeah. Tell me about your sign, Mark.
My sign is basically, I think that they're pretty much destroying the system. So, I mean, here I put the, Social Security, Medicare, which, I think it's being affected one way or the other. It's going to be affected. Medicaid, along with welfare and a bunch of other things, because the Republicans, or really the rich, have basically been after destroying these systems from the get-go since they were developed in the 30s.
Tell me a little bit about your sign.
I think it speaks for itself. With great power, whatever power it is, you have a responsibility to wield it properly and responsibly.
So tell us how that applies to what's happening in the current American government.
I think there's a lot of power, and it's not being held responsibly. It's being used for selfish gain, and that is not what that position is for. So
what do you think the impact of these protests around the country and internationally will have or has had?
I think it's empowerment. People know they're not alone anymore. When you see hundreds of thousands, millions of people all over the country stand up for what they believe in, I think that just shows, and it's comforting to show people they're not alone. So that's what I think it shows.
Kamala Harris talked a lot about Project 2025. Tell me what you think and why. That's my mom, by the way. That's my sweetheart. Tell me why America got it wrong.
I don't really know if I have an answer for that. I think people wanted change, and I think there was just a lot of factors where people were willing to believe something that was a lie. And unfortunately, that's what happened. We fell for a lie. So,
if you had a personal message for Elon Musk and Donald Trump, what would that message be, Spider-Man?
You've been put in a position to represent your constituents, but you've also been put in a position to represent those who don't agree with you. So instead of playing favorites, you are, by your position, basically bound to look out for both of us. So, yeah.
Tell me about your sign.
Hello. I have a sign that says, "I thought we said never again." Largely, it's about the ICE camps. Recently, one of the camps in Miami I read a story about where they were saying people were held in buses for like 24 hours, not allowed to use the bathroom, not allowed to eat or drink water. And just that's inhumane conditions, period. They are, I've seen people talk about how they are just going in and grabbing kids out of schools because they might be immigrant children. And even if they're birthright citizens, and that's absolutely not how we should treat any human being.
Yeah. What do you think the impact will be or has been of these protests that are now international? That these anti-Trump protests, anti-Elon Musk. What do you think about this?
Definitely, the media does not show a lot of it, but thanks to social media, I've actually been able to see a lot of it, which is amazing how many other countries are supporting the anti-Trump movement. Um, in the end, I think it's just going to be history's going to tell us that we are right and that they were wrong.
Kamala Harris and her campaign and so many others talked about what was in Project 2025. So why did America literally essentially vote for Project 2025?
I mean, I've asked my mom this several times. Why would you not vote for Kamala? And she's just like, well, I don't like her, and she supports abortion. I'm like, no, she supports people's right to choose, which is completely different. But she's become so indoctrinated in this. I don't even want to call it Christian Trumpism, but the religion of Trump. It's as long as you hurt the people that we don't like, then we're with you, which is horrible. That should just never be the way anyone's treated.
Do you have any personal message for Elon Musk and Donald Trump?
Mr. Rogers is disappointed in you.
Check it out on Street Story Media. She is? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to talk to her. Hi, everybody. Hey, everybody.
Police are down there, ambulance is down there, nuts.
Oh, gosh.
We had 2 other cars crash. So it's, I mean,
I'm trying to get everybody.
2 hours of putting out fires.
Can I talk to you?
You can talk.
We travel from Cleveland. We're covering hands-off protests around the country.
Yay!
And I just wanted to get the opportunity to chat with you about today and just talk about what's going on. You organize this with your team of organizers and activists. Tell us about the process.
So our group is Indivisible NKY.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, last week when a lot of the other protests happened, Kentucky was hit with just horrific weather. And, because that was when it was originally scheduled. But we had so many people reach out that were like, please reschedule, please reschedule. We're evacuating, right? We can't come right now because we're evacuating. So that's why we decided to push it back a week. You could see like from Cincinnati down to Louisville and some of the other places in Kentucky that experienced rain, while they had real nice turnout, it wasn't as big as it could have been. Whereas today, we've got, our goal was to create a human chain that ran from end to end, from the north end at US 18 to the southern end at US 42 of Olive Mall Road. And we were successful. We've had more people turn out today than at any other protest event that we've done since 2017. And it's really just to give people a voice, be in communities where normally you don't see this kind of activity, to help, make people aware you're not alone. There are other people out here who feel like you do. Come join us, have a chance to have your say and express yourself. And we want, the greater community to realize this is not okay. We don't consent to what's happening in the federal government. And that was really the message that went out throughout, Indivisible, the 50501 group, the Working Families Party, the labor unions, everybody that supported the hands-off movement. The general message that everything else is founded around is that we don't consent to this. This is not okay. We have, you can't even call it partisan. This isn't, 650, 700 Democrats out here. We have Democrats, we have independents, we have Republicans who are like, okay, this isn't what we thought we were going to get. Independents, everybody in between. This is about right versus wrong. This is about maintaining our democratic republic under the Constitution and not allowing that to fall. So everybody is out here with their own issues, whether it be, hands off my Social Security, hands off my 401k, hands off my education, my health care, hands off books, just whatever people are most interested in. We want them to have their voice heard that this is not okay with us. We don't consent to all of these things being trashed.
Yeah. Do you have a personal message for Elon Musk and Donald Trump? And if you do, what would that be?
Ooh. How much time we got?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get into
it. My biggest question is why? Why? For over 200 years, we have had this Constitution, and for so long, the rallying cry of the Republican Party has been the Constitution. No longer can anyone who is a member of that party claim that they are a quote-unquote constitutional Republican, because every member of Congress, whether they be a representative in the House or a senator, has given up their constitutional congressional powers to the executive branch. And so as a regular everyday person sitting here going, what are you trying to accomplish? By destroying all of these norms and things that people rely on. I mean, nobody, regardless of party, is going to say, oh, please get rid of Social Security.
Yeah.
And the thing that a lot of people don't know is that Social Security has its own fund. Social Security doesn't affect our budget, doesn't affect the debt, doesn't affect the deficit. It's its own entity. So why are you touching it when people have paid their entire working lives into it? They made a deal with the government. They're supposed to get that money back. For some people, it's all they have to pay for their retirement, whether their housing, their food, their clothing, their medication, whatever. Hands off. Get away from it, because it has nothing to do with the budget and everything else you're complaining about.
Yeah.
And then the news just came out yesterday that with everything that Doge is doing at this point, at this date, last year, so the first quarter of the government under Biden versus the first quarter of the government under Trump, Trump's regime has spent $184 billion more dollars than was spent last year in the same time period. So how exactly is Doge helping to curb, waste, fraud, and abuse? Sounds to me like they're the ones perpetrating the fraud by being abusive to everyday working people.
Kamala Harris talked about Project 2025, everything that's how close we are to recession. She mentioned specific things that would happen. She mentioned his tariffs. Why do you think America got it wrong?
So, wow, why did we get it wrong? Well, first off, I think we need to clarify a few things. Number one, they claim a mandate that they didn't have, because if you look at the breakdown of the election, Donald Trump didn't even get half of the vote. He only got 47% of the vote. Still beat Kamala, but only 47% of the vote. So that means more than 50% of the country didn't get it wrong. And so that's a really hard thing for people to understand and be able to analyze and look at. For those who did get it wrong and voted for Trump, I think that, I think parts of 2025 are appealing for them, whether they want to admit it or not. I mean, it is an extremely phobic mandate. Every ism, that whether racism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, all of that is Project 2025 in a nutshell. Anything that they can enact that puts any marginalized group in their place, that's what it's all about. And for some people, that's okay. They're perfectly fine with that. But what's happening now is, people are starting to feel the pain of them enacting 2025. And I think that was always what it was going to take. there's very much, I think there was very much this mindset, Trump will take care of us. So even if they enact Project 2025, it won't affect us. And now they're seeing how wrong they were, right? Because it's affecting them at their kitchen table with grocery prices. It's affecting them in getting to and from work with the increase of gas prices, with the increase in car prices, with the increase in even around here, tank bus surfaces have gone up. So everything that you can imagine that affects somebody's ability to provide for their family has gone up. And at the end of the day, that's what's going to determine the next vote. How much did you hurt me and my family at our kitchen table? Right?
Yeah.
So I think that they were better at messaging because the opposition, because they hid Project 2025, right? And how many times did Donald Trump say, I didn't have anything to do with that? He could have wrote it himself as long as he stood up there and said 10 times a day, I didn't write that. I didn't have anything to do with that. People believed it. And now, step by step, it's being enacted. He had everything to do with it. So, it's one of those buyer beware situations where you pay attention to what somebody says as opposed to what somebody does.
Yeah.
And now people are seeing the effects of what somebody does.
Yeah. Thank you so much for speaking with me.